Are we getting The Last of Us 3? And if so, who will be the protagonist? Well, in today's video, we may have our answer. When the original title dropped over 10 years ago, in June of 2013, gamers were immediately mesmerised by the narrative, the characters, and the setting. It told the story of Joel Miller, an emotionally crushed father during a catastrophic global pandemic, 20 years after the tragic loss of his only daughter, Sarah. The world was overrun by the cordyceps virus, a parasitic fungal infection that had devastated mankind. Joel is tasked as a smuggler to transport Ellie Williams, a young teenager strongly believed to be the only person in the entire world who's immune to infection, across the United States in search of making an antivirus. Although he keeps his ties to the girl strictly as business, the two gain emotional connection over time, forming a surrogate father-daughter relationship. The story has everything from laughter, to action, to heartbreak, and is considered to be not only the greatest narrative-driven gaming title of 2013, but one of the most of all time. Fast forward to almost exactly 7 years later, and Naughty Dog Studios gave us a second installment in The Last of Us 2, which now told the story of a slightly older Ellie and Joel, now living in a large survivor community with Joel's younger brother, Tommy. It continues from the story of the first, with a torn battle between revenge and forgiveness being a huge part of the narrative, which is about all I can say without spoiling major parts of the story. Although the sequel was originally met with a mixed batch of reviews, players learned to fully comprehend the story and the direction it was taking, agreeing that it was an excellent continuation of the first. Following the success of The Last of Us, fans were eagerly excited to learn that we were getting a TV adaptation, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey as Joel and Ellie respectively, which upon the release of the 10-part miniseries in January of last year was met with excellent reviews for its story, character arc and supporting cast choices, even prompting a second season set for 2025. So with all of this hype and love for the series, Naughty Dog are of course contemplating the idea of a next installment, but will it be The Last of Us 3, or will it be a spin-off similar to the Grounded DLC of the first title, which told the tale of Ellie and her best friend Riley before the events of the main game? Well, during a recently released documentary just a few days ago, titled Grounded 2, Making of The Last of Us Part 2, Neil Druckman, creative director and lead co-writer to both titles, gave us some insight as to the future plans for the franchise. He goes on to say the following: "I have been thinking about it. Is there a concept there? And for now years, I haven't been able to find that concept, but recently that's changed. I don't have a story, but I do have that concept. That, to me, is exciting as one, is exciting as two. It's its own thing, yet had this through line for all three, so it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to the story." Although Druckman is definitely optimistic about continuing the story, he is content to leave the narrative with it finished off, if that's what fans wish for. He explained this with the following statement: "The first game had such a clean concept of the unconditional love a parent feels for their child. The second one, once we landed on the idea of the pursuit of justice at any cost, justice for the ones you love, it felt like there's a clean concept there, and there's a through line from the first game about love. If we never get to do that again, that is a fine ending point. The last bite of the apple, the story's done. It's always like, we would love another Last of Us, but if you guys are passionate about something else, we'll support this other thing. Very privileged position to be in. I never take that for granted." He was able to give us some insight into his vision for the next installment, and even who the protagonist would be. All of this in the following statement: "I mentioned we have written a story that takes place after The Last of Us 2 that stars Tommy. I hope one day we get to make it. The headlines across the industry were like, Naughty Dog has outlined The Last of Us Part 3, and that's exactly wrong. It was a small story, it was never a full title. At the time, we had higher priorities at Naughty Dog to fix our pipeline, to fix work-life balance issues. Just based on where we were, I didn't want to prioritise this story, so that story was shelved. I still believe one day it will see the light of day. I don't know if it'll be a game or a show." So it seems that the planned parts of the Last of Us franchise will feature Tommy as the main protagonist, but as Druckman stated, it wouldn't be a full title, so potentially either a DLC of some sort, a smaller spin-off of its own, similar to what Telltale Games gave us with The Walking Dead, or even an extension to the HBO television series, which we've seen done so many times before. Personally, I would love to see the story of Tommy in a gaming title, whether it be following a separation from his older brother Joel when he decided on joining the Fireflies, to how he ended up at the large survivor settlement in Jackson, Wyoming. As far as a television series would go, although it's definitely one of my favourite shows, I think it's way too early for spin-offs, as we've still only encountered season 1 of the HBO series. We'd at least need a few seasons before we get into anything like that, and right now, in the TV series, the focus still needs to remain on the relationship between Joel and Ellie. At the end of The Last of Us 2, we saw Ellie settle down with girlfriend Dina, living out on a ranch with Dina's child, JJ. It may be very well that the story of Ellie has been told, and although there are some strong ideas for another revenge-driven narrative, we've experienced this already, so it may be best to leave that particular tale with the ending it currently has. But whatever the next installment will be, both Naughty Dog Studios and Neil Druckman will no doubt blow our minds, as they've proven to do before. Were you guys fans of either The Last of Us video game or the HBO TV series, or both? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, as well as what setting and protagonist you'd like to see in the next installment. If you guys enjoyed today's video, you all know what to do, and if you're new here and aren't subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so. The documentary Neil Druckman took part in will be linked in the video description below, and it's something I definitely recommend you check out, as today I've only discussed a small portion of what that actual video contains. Thank you all for watching. You've been listening to Phil of Philby Gaming, and I hope to see you in the next one.